to Punch Card Investing, a weekly show dedicated to all things value investing. Whether it be analyzing companies, pitching ideas, or discussing moves by the best investors in the world, we're trying to get one step closer to punching an investment off of our cards. Let's get started.
Can you believe it? We got all five guys for the first time in a long time. This is a very exciting episode of Punch Card Investing. It's a 13F week, which is always a good time. Lots to talk about, lots of moves from Q4, but man, this has been a momentous week in Punch Card history, if I do say so myself, or at least last week was, I should say. Maybe not so much this week, but last week, definitely. We have a new father in the house. Let's give a hand to Tom, new dad. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
How's it feel?
Feels cool. It's very cool. I'm not too sleep deprived just yet, so maybe ask me again in a couple of weeks. But so far, so good.
And then, like, while you were becoming a father, our very own Mr. Gurnani is now a married man, and I was there. He's a real person. I saw his set. It is real. It's not CG, and it is in fact a legit thing. So congratulations. And there's one point of clarification that I need to make that I kind of discovered on this trip to Dubai when attending this wedding. We've all been calling him Karan, like with like the Ran at the end, but it's actually Karan, or like if you say it, I won't say with an accent, but I kind of picked up the accent while I was there. But it's Karan, not Karan.
I actually nailed it, yeah.
So we need to fix that. So I'm making a mandate. Maybe we can get a buzzer or something every time we slip up with Karan, because that's incorrect. So, and he's been putting up with this for a very long time. So I don't know whether I should be upset with him or like just kind of proud at his tolerance, because it's pretty incredible that we've been saying it definitely incorrectly for a very long time, and he's let us do it. So it's Karan, I guess how you would phonetically pronounce Karen here in the States, but it's Karan, not Karan. So let the record reflect that fact. So Mr.
Both work. It's fine.
both work, but only one is correct. so with that said, congratulations, Karan. It was a great trip. My wife and I both enjoyed ourselves very much. We enjoyed your hospitality as well, yours and your families, and Jasmine's family as well. And congrats to you both. So what are you doing next? How does it feel for you?
Just getting used to it. I mean, it's a new phase, new beginning. So looking forward to it.
You got a big trip planned? Honeymoon?
Not anytime soon. No. Just going to take it easy for some time, then we'll see.
It's a good deal. It's lots to do in Dubai.
I'm convinced of a Berkshire at least next year. So let's see how that goes.
That would be excellent. Come on down to the States.
If we do a punch card meetup, maybe in New Zealand, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The direct flight to Dubai is long from Houston. It'd be even worse going to Omaha because you'd have to connect. But yeah, it's 14 and a half hours getting there, and then 16 and a half coming back because you're going against the jet stream. And I looked at the route, and you actually go all the way up from Dubai to the North Pole and then come straight down south to try and get kind of go across the jet stream. But wow, it was a very wild looking route. It's like, whoa. But going there, it's more direct. Yeah, it was a big trip. Longest flight I've ever made. Tom, how long is it from, you went from, I think, Australia to LA, right? How long was that flight?
Yeah, I don't think there's much in it, but ballpark 12 hours from memory.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
I think Sydney to LAX.
Yeah, and then you had to connect from there, so you still had.
Then we got to get to Omaha still.
Yeah, getting to Omaha is the worst. That's the worst part. Yeah. It's even. I think it's about 4 hours from where I'm at, and I'm in the middle of the country too, but just south of it. U.S. is a big place. Anywho. We could talk more about this as we move along, because there's always lots to talk about. And now that we have all five people here, we haven't had this dynamic in a while. So we'll see how we do. But it's 13F season, and there were a lot of moves from the last quarter. I know we've already had some of us put out some videos on that already. Maybe we can start out with good old Berkshire Hathaway in a second. But before we do that, so Karen's mom said that she always smashes the like button when I say to smash the like button. So it warms my heart to hear that. So this is to you, Mrs. Granati. If you could please smash the like button, now would be the time. And if you haven't subscribed, anyone else out there, I know Mrs. Granati is already subscribed, so thank you for that. If you're not subscribed, be like Mrs. Granati and many others who have joined her in subscribing us. So please do that. And join the Discord as well while you're at it. I don't know if she's in that, but
she should be.
We haven't seen
she should
Mrs. Duffley in the chat for a while. She was
she
around.
might. Yeah, I wonder if she's on right now. Yeah, we'll see. Hoda Prime says Karen is about a foot taller than Jack. I don't know if it's a foot, but it's significantly taller and definitely like he's a big guy. I did not realize that. Like you if you like,
I was surprised how tall you were.
I'm a pretty tall guy myself, but you're significantly taller, and like you got the frame to be like an Olympic bodybuilder for sure. Like the super broad shoulders, you made me look like super small. So I felt inferior. So
I'm starting to become hesitant to meet up because I'm sitting at a cool 5'9", and you guys are all well over 6 foot.
Yeah, and Brad's already taller than me too, and he's significantly taller. So we just got a tall group here. I think Frank gave us all of his height. Tom's a pretty tall guy too, right?
I think I'm about 6 foot on the dot, 183 centimeters, whatever that is in feet. Yeah,
I think I remember Toby mentioning he was shocked by how tall Tom was.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
I'll be avoiding a group photo, that's for sure. I might have to stand on something.
Yeah, you stand.
We'll get you a phone
book.
We'll
We all kneel in front of you, and you're standing there, arms crossed, like that'd be a good picture.
Yeah, and it's upper bodies only in the photo.
Yeah,
That works.
It just busts. It busts for all of us. Carton was joking that I should have got a bust of Charlie Munger for his wedding gift, and I did actually consider doing that, but I decided against it, and now I'm kind of regretting it. I don't know. Maybe I should
put that right here.
It'd be a good set piece. And then have him look out the window and when he's not in use. All right, let's finally get into it. 13F season. Let me pull up the data Roma for Berkshire Hathaway. Might as well start with the GOAT.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to Semper Augustus as well for putting out their annual report this year, which really goes into Berkshire Hathaway, as always. So that's a fantastic resource to understand Berkshire better.
Yeah, they have a that's Chris Bloomstrand, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they always have a Berkshire Hathaway intrinsic value breakdown of various ways they calculate it and change year to year as well. So if anyone's interested in, like Brad says, diving into Berkshire a little deeper, that's really good. Not too much else to say. I often point people towards Chris's letters.
And it's only 148 pages this year, so pretty light reading.
I believe the Berkshire letter should be out tomorrow morning.
I think so.
US time as well, so that's not too far away.
Exciting times. Tom, I know you did a video on the recent Berkshire changes, or at least some of them. I think it was Taiwan Semiconductor you pointed out. I'm forgetting if you covered others as well, but maybe we can kind of start with this because that's a pretty noticeable one, selling out of most of it.
Yeah. I mean, I've filmed a couple of videos the last couple days. They haven't been released yet, but one was on 13Fs and one was on my shameless cloner portfolio update that I do. And across the group of super investors that I follow, there was very, very little that jumped out to me on the purchasing side, but this is one of the few things that kind of jumped out to me on the sell side, I guess. So I think Taiwan Semiconductor was a top 10 position for Berkshire last quarter right out of the gate. I'm fairly sure it was the first time they'd bought it. I don't know the business that well at all, but just looking at some of the surface level metrics, it seems like a very Buffett-like stock, high returns on invested capital, has grown for a long time, reasonable valuation, retains a fair chunk of their earnings. yeah, it looked like he took a reasonable swing at it, but has suddenly reversed course and only a quarter later trimmed it pretty hard. So I'm not too sure what to read into there. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the thing.
It doesn't strike me as a Buffett decision. It seems like it might be one of the deputies.
Well, it looks like it was like a $5 billion position.
Yeah, but it is.
Yeah,
that's where it's kind of weird.
Seems too high for them.
But then why sell it so quickly? Or unless this, I think what we're getting at is it seems like it was much larger than just like a feeler position, where maybe they're doing more research. I think, Tom, your conclusion, or your speculation, I should say, was that maybe they came across something that they didn't really know about, or some new information or something like that.
I don't know. Like the only reason it's very weird for Buffett to turn around and sell something so quickly. So the only thing I can think of is he's changed his mind and wanted to get out sooner rather than later. But why he did it, I don't exactly know.
Yeah. And
did it seem like he took a loss on it? I haven't been tracking what the price has been doing over the last couple of quarters.
Let's take a look.
It's been pretty volatile, but it's around flat over the past 6 months or so. Okay. Although we don't know when exactly they bought and sold. Right. There could have been a big loss on it if they sold around November, I think it was.
You might have to look at the ADR, I think, Jack, to get the prices rather than that version. But
isn't it TSMC? What's the ticker on that?
Just TSM.
TSM.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously don't know because, we just don't. But Whale Wisdom has his average price estimated at 68.50, so maybe a modest gain on it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They were obviously looking at this chart pattern right here when they bought it and decided to go for it. So
I think that's actually exactly the date the last 13Fs came out. It jumped about 10% on that news from memory, mid-November.
But has it fallen? Well,
it has, but to a smaller extent. Yeah,
interesting.
Kind of Buffett effect in reverse. Yeah.
Quick pump and dump from old Warren.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just something they openly made a mistake when buying that, or I can't imagine that something kind of geopolitical changed over that time period. There's all the same risks that I think you would know about investing in a company like that. Maybe it's something industry specific that I don't follow semiconductors at all, so maybe that could be the reasoning, but it is very strange for whether it's Ted Todd or Buffett to be in and out very quickly.
At least at this size.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, if it was a Buffett buy, maybe, that wasn't such a big initial position for him. Ted or Todd, it certainly would have been.
Sure.
Yeah,
so it is a feeler position then for Buffett. Cool,
right. That's his feeler size.
A cool few bill. Maybe
so.
Activity
been for other super investors? Have they also bought around when he bought and sold recently?
You're saying there's others who did the same?
I think Terry Smith was into it also, and he also sold.
Can we just click on the ticker there and see if what pops up, Jack?
So TSM and then activity.
I didn't hear anything about Terry Smith.
There's an activity tab next to,
doing anything with that recently.
Yeah, so Terry Smith sold out 100%.
Okay. I think he had been in it for a while, though.
And relatively very small, because he's very diversified.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do have a handful.
And no one there seems to have it as a big position, really.
They're
all Tiger Global kind of bought in last quarter, and they again sold out this quarter. So. But I think Tiger Global had like a whole bunch of redemptions, and is that the same hedge fund that I'm thinking of?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how it's been just throughout the industry. How many of these sales are redemption related? Q4, end of the year, people tax loss harvesting, whatever it is. or just selling out to start fresh the next year. It's a little bit hard to say, especially in this market where it's already been pretty volatile.
Yeah.
That is one of the limitations, as we've discussed before, with kind of 13Fs in general. They're not only are they backwards looking, they're delayed and also potentially incomplete because not every holding is required to be disclosed, only certain holdings. So that is a limitation. Always trying to remind everyone about that.
Can we get some forward-looking 13Fs?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Luis,
we got some super chats here.
Oh boy.
We might get demonetized if we say this out loud.
Or we're not going to speak to that, Luis, but we appreciate the contribution.
We appreciate it, as always. And then another from Jonathan Morris. Charlie just says buy the index. For most people.
And or Costco.
Yeah.
I feel like every week.
I thought I heard him saying to go all in on crypto, but okay, sure.
I feel like every week Jonathan's in here reminding people to diversify and
That's
invest.
good.
I
Public
like
service
I
announcement.
like it.
He's always watching. He's always watching, and he's always reminding. So, and it's good. I appreciate the open-mindedness either way.
He might be stock selection curious.
He's waiting for us to pitch something that's worth taking a swing at.
That's it. Even a blind horse finds water at some point, I think. Is that the strategy?
A squirrel, right? A squirrel?
I've never heard squirrel. No, that's blind squirrel gets the nut. Or
Yeah,
something
that's
like
right.
that.
I'm going to
Something
use
like
it.
that. Yeah. Anything else with Luis asks, when does FTX earnings get announced? Any other Buffett highlights? That seemed to be a pretty big one.
Yeah, there was just one other I was going to highlight. Oh, well, very quickly, he sold US Bancorp. That was about a 1% change in the portfolio. I think that just follows a trend of him clearing out basically every bank he owned except Bank of America. He cleared Wells Fargo not long ago. I think he was in, I want to say Goldman or JP Morgan, but I might be wrong on those. But he's sort of steadily been selling banks and cleared a lot of US Bancorp. And just one other one I thought would be interesting just to touch on.
Activism trim, that's significant because of how big the position is.
I think if you click on it, you'll see a 12% trim last quarter as well from memory. I think he's done 12% twice. Yeah. If you go activity.
What is it, activity then? Oh, yeah, right. It shows the quarters. Yeah, you're right. Huh. It seems very systematic.
Yeah, I've actually been reading some of the old Buffett letters when he talks about arbitrage, and he does mention it being a cash alternative. So I don't know if he's just rolling the money into other stuff, but I don't think he's exactly short on cash either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
How big is their position in Activision, relatively to the market cap?
4 billion, and that is
5% or so, maybe
6.7 according to Well Wisdom.
Company itself is 60 billion.
Because I'd assume for Buffett that is probably a fairly illiquid position, that it'd be hard to make any big trades in or out of that, but maybe I'm wrong there.
Everything's a liquid for Warren, I think.
Once you get into multiple billions, it's going to be hard not to get noticed.
Maybe not those 3-month treasuries, but pretty much everything else.
Yeah, right.
The other one I was just going to flag quickly, which some people might find interesting. Like we often talk about people buy only for one reason because they think the stock's going up, but they sell for a whole range of reasons. One of them on that front was Ally Financial. It had a very, very small trim. Ally Financial has been buying back a lot of stock, and I think what's going on there is Berkshire trying to stay under the 10% ownership threshold to not fall into bank holding company regulations, which I don't exactly know what that means, but Buffett said for years he wants to avoid that. So they've trimmed it very slightly, and I think looks like the overall ownership of Ally now, if I can find it, is 9.978%. So it seems like they're trying to sneak under that 10% threshold.
It's a reasonable call. Well, what is the stake in Bank of America?
Good question.
33 billion seems like, I mean, how big is Bank of America? It's very large, but
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. It's telling me 12.6%, but possibly Bank of America has some other share classes out that are complicated.
yeah, I wonder if that's
I don't
special
know.
for some reason. Yeah, because that was a special deal, right, from the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Weren't they? They're not preferred shares. What are they again? Or are
I
they?
think they're convertible preferred seed bought.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I wonder if it's different for that or something. I don't know why it would be, but
Yeah,
securities
not
law
sure.
is its
Good
own
call.
thing.
Tom, do you have any take on why he's selling off banks now?
Not really, to be honest. I don't know. You could argue that, if you go and read the old Buffett, what's his article called? How Inflation Swindles the Equity Investor.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about how our companies need to increase their return on equity for you to get the same real return as a equity investor. And I wonder if he thinks that banks would really struggle to do that, but that applies to a lot of other companies in his portfolio.
Or if they would engage in riskier activities to do that, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
And
not sure.
We've talked about over the last really couple of years now, comparing certain holdings. I remember when he bought Verizon a while back and has since sold. We were kind of thinking like, oh, maybe that's kind of like a bond for him, getting a few percent yield. But with treasuries climbing up to 4 or 5%, maybe those kind of lower yield, not necessarily high return sorts of opportunities are becoming less attractive. Maybe it's something to do with that.
Or lower risk cash alternatives now.
Right, but he already does have a lot of cash. So I don't know. It could be something with that, perhaps, because a lot of these large banks probably don't have enormous upside. And
Yeah,
really just kind of.
I mean, the yield curve is extremely flat to inverted right now, which isn't that great for a lot of banks. But at the same time, a lot of them you can argue are very cheap if things normalize.
Yeah.
So, don't know.
Yeah. Just a thought. I don't know if that's actually the thinking, but one potential.
When is the Activision deal supposed to close? You guys tracking that at all?
That is up to the U.S. government. So, as I think I forget if there were some antitrust filings recently or something having to do with it that came out pretty recently to be expected. But I have a feeling they're still a long ways away because they got to get through all that first.
I think in the Microsoft earnings, there was some commentary around either June or July. Expecting it to be wrapped up by then. There's something else happening sooner. Just following from like tweets with people that follow it, but I haven't looked too closely.
They really think this year it would go through?
I haven't followed it close enough to know, but that's at least what Twitter would imply to me.
I guess it has been quite a while already. I don't know where the antitrust stuff stands. I'm only hearing bits and pieces of it, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Feels like it's been like a year since he's owned it, before the last Berkshire meeting.
Wow.
Well, his big announcement was at the Berkshire meeting.
Yeah.
He plowed a bunch of money into it.
Yep.
So almost a year. But Ted and Todd were buying it in October, November 21, just as a regular old value investment.
Right. Not a workout.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. John's saying here in the comments that Buffett got regulatory approval to own up to 25% of Bank of America. So that's what's going on there.
Wow.
Little carve out.
Carve out.
So some people get some special treatment. I see how it works. Speaking of antitrust, we'll see. Can you get some special treatment there too? But that would make some sense then, and that would confirm Tom's suspicion. Okay. Anything else on Berkshire? Should we get through a few more?
Yeah. Should we go to Burry? Burry's kind of what's that?
Something that they've increased the position in. They've been continuously increasing their holding in Paramount. Right now, I think they're up to 16%.
It's a fan favorite.
I think that's Ted who's buying out Paramount. I mean, buying karma significantly.
Yep.
It's got to be.
Okay, so next, who are we thinking?
Burry?
Yeah.
Someone did a documentary on him recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, our very own. Frank's redemption video. That was
I've quickly lost motivation towards YouTube. The time is killing me.
that was fast.
I'll dabble every now and then. We'll see.
Yeah, it's exhausting to keep up the schedule for sure, especially without help.
It's
Just
quicker
needed
than
that one,
Burry setting up a
1 million
position.
view video out the gate.
Yeah, the higher quality videos, they're too much effort for too little reward. It's a lot of dedication.
Frank's like, show me the money.
Make it worth my time.
All right, here we go. And sharing.
I feel like Burry's as a 13F. Karen should take us through.
Yeah.
So where do we start?
With
what do you think is still relevant? Like,
the prison company at the top there.
You
do you guys
reduced
think
though.
he's actually holding any of these anymore? Like, I'm doubtful.
Yeah, me too.
I wonder what he's thinking with a lot of these positions. We look at his 13F basically every quarter, and it's like always a new set of names, minus like one or two, like big swings. And I'm sure there's like options behind this or something. There's so much going on.
Well, he doesn't seem shy in terms of trading, right? Getting a quick return. Like that's a big part of the game for him, it seems like.
Yeah, he definitely runs a more kind of quantitative, I guess, approach where he's willing to have a higher turnover for a range of different reasons. But it is interesting to follow, but not, I guess, for the type of investors maybe we are.
Right.
But yeah, it's always interesting.
Yeah. All right,
Super
Jack.
chat. 1,000.
I'm back. 1,000 yen.
Look at this.
From our favorite name. You got it, Brad.
GG Luigi PG.
He's back.
Nice.
Just welcome back and congratulations to Tom and Karan. Do you think there is any advantage to owning the Hong Kong listed version of Alibaba versus the ADR? I think we discussed this long ago. Brad, you did like a whole video on how to get the Hong Kong shares in the US. I think
Did I?
I think it was, or no, it wasn't not how to get them. It was what would happen if the ADR like closed or something like that. How you'd redeem the
if
Hong
it
Kong.
got delisted, right?
That's what it was. That was a while ago.
Yeah, Brad was trying to get a broker to give him a straight answer on what's going to happen from memory.
It didn't work. Yeah, I don't have any strong feelings about this. I don't see much advantage, but it's not something I've spent a lot of time thinking about. Seems like the delisting risk is lower than it was, 6 months, a year ago. But I'm not in law, right, Jack?
Yeah. I'm in law, and I don't know.
And you don't know either.
It's really a
Okay, so-
political issue. Like that's politics is
it's a
its
political
own
issue.
animal because it's a lot of players and a couple elections, a riot here or there, and then all of a sudden you get big changes. You can't really predict it in a lot of ways, or at least with any precision. At least
I guess the question is, if something like that arises, is there a difference owning these?
right?
You're still exposed to the VIE structure, right? So it makes
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it makes a big fundamental difference. But I guess we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
Hopefully we don't get there.
Right, exactly. And we'll see what happens if it comes to it. But I think if it does come to that, you might have other problems that are, this would just be one problem downstream from a much larger problem, I would think. But, again, it's very hard to predict that.
You guys think there's any disadvantage to owning the Hong Kong version?
It might be all the political issues, but in reverse, I guess. Like, if you're scared of one entity or one country cutting off the other, being in the opposite might be slightly helpful. I don't know, but I kind of doubt it.
Well, I imagine the fees are higher.
You can't buy leaps on the Hong Kong list.
There you go. That would put Quran out.
Yeah, maybe it's a brokerage question then. Yeah, right. Maybe it's a brokerage question to the fees and different instruments available. So maybe that's really what it comes down to for that. Hoda Prime says liquidity. I kind of doubt there's a major difference.
Not an issue for us, I would say.
Yeah,
maybe
right. If we're trying to plow like our SPAC into it, or the 25 bill we have sitting on the side, that might make a difference.
Yeah, I know there's a very small fee embedded into the ADR for breathing or something. I don't exactly know what. So maybe save that. I doubt it'll happen with Alibaba anytime soon, but I know if an ADR was to pay a dividend, he'd get it in US dollars as opposed to local currency and that kind of stuff. But probably not relevant here.
All right.
Did you guys see? Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. Michael Burry tweeted sell. Did you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
It was a few weeks ago, I think.
It's just a new weird.
He was talking about Baba shares. I think so.
Baba shares?
Because he timed it, like he put up a tweet saying, "As for me, I like Hong Kong," or something like that.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did, and that was like a nod to the Roaring Kitty guy, the GME guy.
Oh, I see. Yep.
So that's when I guess he bought Alibaba and JT, and then I'm assuming he said sell, referring to those. So
maybe he's selling puts. Like, what direction's he betting here?
Nobody knows.
No.
Yeah, it is interesting to look at his 13F. Like, you discover much weirder stuff than you'd find in other 13Fs, and they often seem like they could be reasonable, longer term hold kind of value investments. It's just he rolls them over so quickly, it's hard to tell what he actually likes. Like last quarter, the theme was companies that still produce cash flow but have boatloads of debt and get inflated away, maybe. But that usually takes longer than a quarter to fully play out. So,
well, maybe he got the pop he needed to just get out.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or he's actually just like a pure options trader, and these are all like just options hedges or something like that. Like most of the
that'd be great. I hope that's what's happening.
That'd be great. It's actually just like pure on. Jason in the chat says regarding Baba real quick. Either way, it's still a retailer.
Yeah,
this is true.
As Charlie Munger has
lamented
in his recent very, very extensive interview, or was that during the earnings annual meeting? I forget if that was that or the interview that followed it. But
it was the Daily Journal annual meeting.
Yeah, it was at the meeting. But yeah, it is a retailer.
I'm surprised nobody asked Charlie about Tencent. He didn't talk much. I don't think he talked. He didn't mention Tencent at all.
Nobody asked him about it. I think he's
Someone asked him about Disney, though, of all things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What was that question again? I think his answer was about like how great companies fall or something like that. Or am I mixing that up with another business?
Yeah, it's basically all of the businesses that used to produce a bunch of money for them have got way harder.
It's getting harder, yeah.
But it sounded like the person asking the question thought that DJ Co owned Disney, which they haven't ever. So.
No.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the Daily Journal 13F. Granted, there is no action, but just to be thorough.
Little smidge of action.
Is that right? Oh, it's not showing on Dataroma. What was it again?
Oh, okay. Maybe I was looking at an old 13F. I thought he ditched the tiny position in POSCO, but maybe that was last quarter.
Yeah, it must have been last year. I'll go to activity.
If you go activity, it might show
I
up.
am.
There you go.
Q4.
Yep. That's odd. It's not showing. Shouldn't it show
Well,
here then?
it's no longer holding. That catches me out on data.
I see.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah. So symbolic.
Rounding error in the portfolio.
Yeah. Funny if he kept like one share or something.
That's kind of what Burry's doing with Ceritage. I don't know what that's about. I mean, it's more than one share, but it's a weird little.
Should we look at Burry?
Yeah, I'm switching over.
Okay.
Quick question before we move on. Brandon, in your video, you mentioned that Charlie owns the ADRs. That you think he owns the ADRs, right, for Tencent? Was it the Hong Kong listed or was it the ADRs?
Yeah, it could be either. I'm not sure. There was some guy on Twitter who. So he basically tracked the change in values in the portfolio and the change of Tencent's price from quarter to quarter, and they matched perfectly. So he extrapolated from that the mystery foreign holding in Daily Journal is Tencent, but we don't know for sure.
Here we are for Burry.
Yeah.
The ad Brookfield, but that's kind of old news at this point, right?
Yeah, he mentioned a number of months back that he bought Brookfield. We didn't know how much. It was a pretty small amount from the third quarter 13F, but it's more significant now.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, what is it? 27 million. He's got, I think, like a 700 million portfolio. So it's only a 3% bet, something like that, 4%.
Somewhere
So
around.
it's pretty small from what he typically puts in.
Yeah.
Initially, he likes to make 10% bets. So
would love to see the foreign holdings in a nice format like this, without guesswork.
Yeah.
Right.
And just for maybe people that aren't familiar, I think the one showing here as BN Brookfield Corp is just a straight up purchase. That's the one we saw last quarter, but under a different ticker, I think. I'm fairly sure the Brookfield asset management holding is just purely from a spin-off that they did. I don't think he actually bought that.
Right.
I've got that in the shameless cloner portfolio, so I had to go through all the intricate maths of trying to add the correct number of shares from the spin-off in there. And I think the ratio that he's got here between Brookfield Corp and Brookfield Asset Management about matches what you would get from a spin-off. So I'm fairly sure that's what's happened there.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it too much. I think one owns a stake in the other one. I'm not sure which way it goes, but yeah, something I've been meaning to dig into, Brookfield.
Yeah, I mean, they've essentially spun off their asset management business and kept their private equity, all the other stuff, business as sort of the original stock. I think is very roughly how it works. And I've just pulled it up. So the spin-off is 25% of the asset management business. So presumably 75% still lives in the original company. I suppose that's how it works.
Yeah, what is that?
Quite a few investors, right, in it, got into it recently.
There were a number, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Acre increased their, I think, holding in Brookfield. I think Josh Tarasoff added Brookfield. So there were I think 3 or 4 that.
Here you go.
Yeah. Why do it from memory when we can just pull it up?
Aha. Yeah.
That's a reasonable size bet for Tom Gaynor. 3 or 4% is pretty big for him. Interesting. Did the exact same 5 show up if we click on the other Brookfield? I wonder if any of them just immediately dumped it, or whether they held on to it.
Let's see here.
Is there 6 now?
Gainer's in there. He wasn't in the other one, I don't think.
Interesting.
I thought he was.
Okay, so
not
someone
in
on the list
activity,
might
but
have
in
just
holding.
bought the spin-off.
Like I think Gainer owned it, but he didn't have recent activity.
Right.
Oh, I see.
Interesting.
And then as for activity on this one, yeah, they all just got it.
Right. So none of them have kind of picked one over the other. They seem to have just held the spun out shares and the original company.
Mhm.
All right. Who's next? And where did Frank go? He dropped off.
He messaged to say his internet died, which is suspicious because he needed internet to message us. So I don't quite know how that
The
works.
plot
He's got,
thickens.
he's got data. He can do it, but not. Might have to do the mobile version. I came in on my phone once, and it worked all right.
That was great.
That was good.
Was it clean? Or was it choppy at all on my phone?
It was pretty good.
All right, good. I know for the future that if I'm in my house and I need to use my phone to come on here, I can do that. Well, we'll see how it is on full data, though.
Oh, should we pull up Racist real quick? Let's pull up Racist on Ticker.
Before we do that, we have
Yeah.
some kind words from Jason complimenting you, Brad, for your excellent series on the Munger psychology. What are you titling that series?
Charlie Munger's Misjudgments series.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. It's really good. I like the
Thank you. It's a labor of
ChatGPT
love.
integration. It's creative. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Good. I'm glad it's helpful.
I'm glad you're pumping out the content again, Brad. It's great.
Yeah.
He returns.
Yes, full force. Unlike some people who return to YouTube and then they're just like, yeah, I'm better than this now.
I didn't get 10,000 views on that video. I'm hanging up my hat.
No, he's not here to defend himself. This is unfair. Maybe before we'll do Racist, and I want to get to this question from Gambit Production Series. I think that's an interesting one. But let's see.
So there's a question about Racist, which is why I asked to bring it up.
Yeah.
He's up a lot, but what about when you take into account the currency devaluation?
USD. USD. So here, right. Let me just show you.
The giggle. You know this.
Yes.
You know the chart's going to be quite different in the currencies.
Yeah, it is.
It's still good, I imagine, though.
So
do like the 3-year.
3-year, we have 131% in lira.
Okay, so more than a double in 3 years.
And then USD is 300%.
Do 3 year.
Back on what?
Oh,
Now
that's
we're-
1 year. On 3 years, 25% negative. So I don't know why it switches off of 3 years. Yeah, so 131 up. And we're talking over 3 years in lira versus 25% down.
We'll go to 5 year because he bought in 2019. So we're
5 year it's up. Well, so at 2019, it would have been about the same, right? Actually, even better.
yeah, better.
So the 5 year, it's up 261% in dollars.
Did he say he was up 7x on it?
He did say that, but that was
that's
before
that's
the
from 5
recent
years ago. The
pullback.
price was 32 cents, but if he bought in 19, it would have been
I think
closer to
I
15
think he bought there around like 12 cents. So
12 cents.
10x.
And right now it's $1.25. So that would be if you
I
had
think
all
that-
of that. Yeah.
I was
Go ahead.
just going to say, I think that really aggressive spike is him buying, and even though the price is going up, he kind of still keeps backing up the truck because he bought a third of the company or something fairly quickly.
Yeah, but I think he bought earlier than that. I think he was able to buy a lot without moving the price much just because of how quickly people
much
trade
trading
over
there is.
there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. 30% of the company.
Okay, cool.
So there you go. Whoop. And then I mentioned this question. Luis, different question. Luis asks, "Did Tom name his kid Thor?" That's actually even better.
We had that discussion. I couldn't quite get it across the line. So we settled on Jackson as inspiration from Jason. So
Jason, you should be proud, my friend.
Jackson Tim.
Yeah. That's actually his name. Yeah, Jackson Tim. Tim's the middle name.
Jackson Tim Frank.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure your wife was quite pleased with that, Tom.
She's ecstatic. Yeah. I've never seen her happier than when we agreed on that name. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really pushing for Winnebago, but it wasn't going to stick.
Yeah. She actually went deep with the punch card research and wanted Norbit, but I just didn't think that would fly in this. It seems like
a nice ring to it.
I don't quite know.
That's actually not half bad. So Thor, Winnebago, Frank, Jackson. That's his name.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the question I actually wanted to get to was way back here, asking which one of us is the most aggressive investor, aka seeking the highest reward for the risk, I guess. Or I guess most aggressive would imply you're taking on the most risk, I would think. At least that's how I would read that.
Yeah.
I think I want to say I'm the most levered, so I don't know if that makes me the riskiest just by that standard.
Frank goes for the smaller ones, smaller companies.
Yeah, he goes for more volatile holdings, I would think.
Yeah. Seems like Frank.
Probably the most
I
concentrated.
tend to be most concentrated.
Yeah. I think it's kind of pick your poison, really. Like we all have different shades of risk.
You're most concentrated, but I think you're very conscious of protecting your downside.
Yeah, and I like the way
larger liquid companies.
And you have like a full section of your portfolio that I think you call like cash equivalents or cash.
Pretty much like 30% of the portfolio is in cash.
So like that kind of changes the equation a bit too. So yeah, it's concentrated, but like a good portion of it is theoretically protected. But so I don't know if there's a concrete answer to that because it kind of depends on what you see as most risky. Beauty's a bit in the eye of the beholder.
Beauty and risk.
It's sort of an interesting question when you use a value framework because if you buy right into that philosophy, it's like the lower the risk, the higher the return. Like the bigger the discount to intrinsic value. It's kind of
well, we say price is independent of value, so that would change that a bit.
Yeah. So it's a hard one to answer, I would say.
And you also have then company level or industry level risks as well. So those of us who have more Chinese holdings, for example, that could be seen as a bigger risk for some people, or maybe less of a risk for others. So
depending on the price.
Yeah, and then of course, buy price matters a lot too. Are you just indexing, or are you trying to get a screaming deal to where you're kind of insulated there? And I suppose income matters as well. So what's your income relative to the risk you're taking on too? Do you have new cash that's coming in to replenish it? That changes the equation.
And age changes everything.
Sure. Time, if you got more time to work with. Theoretically. No one knows how much time we really have, but
no.
Estimated time if we're an insurance company, we're putting ourselves in a chart, how much time we think we got left to calculate our risk.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's not going to be a definitive answer there because
no,
one man's trash is another man's treasure. But good question nonetheless. Thank you, Gambit Productions.
How about Alexander's question? Not the last one, but the one up a little higher.
Have you considered buying Berkshire? Yeah. Have you considered buying Berkshire?
Comparing it to the index, like the S&P 500.
Yeah, it's the full question for anyone listening to the podcast. Have you considered buying Berkshire? Probably tracks close to the index. Munger has said he likes the odds of betting it long term. It's more tax efficient than the index too, since there's no dividends or payouts, etc. For me, in my taxable account, that kind of is my index. In my tax advantaged accounts, I use quote unquote proper index funds tracking the S&P, or mainly the S&P and some other broad indexes as well, indices. But for my taxable one, I kind of see Berkshire as like my version of an index. Granted, it's way more concentrated than your actual index because of the large Apple holding, the large energy holding. So it's not very diversified, but way more diversified than your average company, I guess.
Well, what is Apple as a percentage of total assets?
Total, I kind of depends how you value the private, right? The private holdings.
Well,
but of the public, I think it's about half, right? I don't know how. I haven't looked at a lot. Is it what? What is it now?
I think around 40%.
Yes, 40, since he's made some recent buys, yeah. So it's down to 40. So significant, even when you factor in all the private businesses as well.
Yeah, personally, I'd be more comfortable owning Berkshire over the next, say, 5-10 years versus the S&P.
It's kind of a hot take.
I'd probably I'd want to get in at on the lower end of where it typically trades. But
yeah,
if you read Bloomstrand, I mean, Berkshire I think is about 1.5 price to book right now, but Bloomstrand thinks it's like a 25% discount from intrinsic value. So obviously it's his biggest position. He loves Buffett, right? So there could be some bias there, loving bias, which I just covered recently. But yeah, I like Berkshire over the S&P.
Yeah.
I just did the maths quickly. Apple is 17% of the market cap.
17%. So it's nothing crazy.
Yeah,
but
and I just want
to. It's big. It's big.
Yeah.
I just want to throw in here as well, before we answer this question too much more. I mean, ETFs are very tax efficient. Like when Berkshire sells a stock, they're paying capital gains tax on it, which doesn't happen in an ETF structure. So
yeah,
they might not be paying you a dividend, but internally ETFs
right?
are pretty tax efficient.
And index funds are so low cost at this point that it's pretty negligible compared to negligible.
Well, so is Warren.
Yeah,
Warren's
right.
pretty low cost.
Yeah, right. But
yeah, what's he making? $100,000 a year these days?
Plus security costs, which are multiples of that. But yes, it's actually in the proxy. It has like his salary and then like employee benefit or something, and it has a footnote that says basically full-time security or something like that. That's a few $100,000 a year from memory.
And what is that for?
Security, like personal security, I think.
To keep the group.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
When he goes to eat Dairy Queen with Bill or
Wow.
something like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Brad, you can't just go up and say hi, right? Next, when you're going for the next meeting.
Yeah, shoot.
Watch out for the security.
I can't do that. I'll have to settle for Lee Lu and Pabrai and Guy Spear.
No, Brad'll he's a tall guy, so you can kind of look over at the security guards and be like, "Hey guys, hey,
stand down."
Yeah. No, you're gonna literally lean over the guards, like
Mr. Buffett. It's nice to
just
meet
get
you.
right to him.
Yeah.
I think Mona should give you a hug if you asked him.
A hug. Ooh.
Yep. I reckon you get that out of him, Brad.
A side hug.
So I've just pulled up the 2022 proxy. So Buffett's salary for 2021, $100,000 exactly. All other compensation, and it's only got a single footnote, which is about home security, $273,000. So 373 in total.
Wow, I'd like to see the security system. That's pretty impressive.
He's probably got like full salaries right there, full time,
probably
armed driver or something, something like that.
Yeah.
Is
there any other investors we want to talk about?
Should probably hit a couple more as we're approaching an hour here, but any highlights?
Lee Lu bought a lot of Google, or added to Google.
Yeah.
Back on his American big tech buying.
Yeah, I mean, I say it's a lot relative to his US portfolio, but I think compared to AUM, it's not huge.
It's funny he has both Google holdings.
Mm.
He has Goog and Google.
I think there's 3
Class A,
share
Class
classes
C.
for Google, right?
Are they? I thought there was only 2. The voting
Yeah,
shares
yeah.
and the not voting shares. Let's see here.
Maybe the founders have a different one again or something.
Or yeah, maybe so. But here are the here's his US reported holdings on the 13th.
Can you make that bigger or no?
Sure.
There you go.
That's
U.S. and Postal Savings Bank of China.
Mm.
No BYD position there.
I'm fairly sure BYD is still in there. I dug through the China filings a while back and can't see anything to suggest he's sold it. I think it's just been so long since a filing that it's fallen
that
off.
sounds right.
but yeah, the big add to Google.
Yeah.
And that's it. Not really sure what much to make of it. Since it seems quite small compared to pretty much everything.
I mean, what's the price of earnings? Like 15? It's getting pretty reasonable compared to the market.
Let's see here.
Yeah, that's the EVE bit because they got a lot of cash.
You're right.
Got to go.
You got to go to valuation. Yeah.
Where is it?
Go up to the top.
Up.
What am I looking?
Valuation.
There we are. It's been a couple weeks.
Last 12 months EVE, but I reckon maybe grab the PE as well, just below it.
20.
Yeah.
So that doesn't factor in the cash. That's the difference.
Yeah. So 14. Yeah, 14 and a half.
They're doing like crazy layoffs right now too. Like a lot of big tech in the US.
That'll take a little while to flow through, I think, because there's some pretty big severance packages rolling out. But
right, they have massive employee compensation, their stock-based compensation, and I wonder how much that'll reduce after this is all said and done. Because even though they have like big old free cash flow, they have a lot of stock-based compensation to eat through from that.
Surely there's like 20 dudes that run Google search, right?
I know, man. You would think it's. I can't even imagine running just even like 1,000-person team. That's so many people. Now, like tens of thousands. Like imagine just laying off 10,000 people in a month. Like, how do you even start? And then how do you even hire 10,000 people in the first place? 100,000 people. Like it's just wild, the scale of some of these companies.
Yeah.
And to your point, Tom, to do what? Just search. What are you doing?
I mean, they are everywhere.
Yeah. But, and they have other things, of course, and labor intensive things as well. They got, I don't know how many are, what's the split between YouTube and Google alone? Like content moderation is probably a big part of it too. Like you need people there to flag stuff that gets through. I think Facebook is the same deal. I don't know how many people do that, but that's probably a big department.
Sounds like a terrible job, doesn't it?
It sounds horrific. It sounds like a nightmare. Like watching some of the worst stuff that gets through, appeals and all that. Hoda Prime brings. Any of you guys watch Joseph Carlson? He's going on the warpath about share-based compensation because of how it's accounted. I've watched some of his content recently on it. It's pretty well articulated arguments against it. But I'm a big fan of Joseph's. He has he's kind of a good sort of news, stock news, at least U.S. stock news content for a lot of the bigger companies. I would probably characterize him as like a Terry Smith style investor, like fairly diversified, a lot of high quality, you might consider more expensive companies. Definitely not doing the micro cap game, but a lot of good content nonetheless.
So you like him better for news, Jack, than Meet Kevin?
Yeah, at least for stocks. And I barely watch Kevin at this point. I did used to watch him a lot more for real estate stuff. I never really watched him for stocks, though, to be fair. I've been watching Joseph for quite some time now, years at this point.
Did you guys see the dumpster fire that was Coinbase's stock-based compensation this last quarter?
No.
I think it was ballpark 70% of revenue for the quarter went towards stock-based compensation.
Of revenue? Wow.
Of revenue, yes. It's absolutely insane.
Yikes.
Hamish broke it down in quite a lot of detail on the Young Investors podcast episode that just came out, so maybe people should check that out. But it's next level. Kind of just, as unaligned with shareholders as you could possibly imagine, I would say.
Yeah, I have to say, I thought they were about to abandon ship when I made a meme video about them cutting their affiliate program and everything, and they put out some statements about like how you don't really own your crypto and all this. I'm like, like they're going under. At least that's kind of what it sounded like. But that was quite a few months ago at this point, and FTX has already happened, and they seem to be plugging along. But we'll see what happens. They've managed to get through quite a bit so far. Watch tomorrow; they're going to make an announcement, but Saturday.
Yeah, I was thinking, Tom, we haven't seen Bitcoin Bro in a while. Is that going to be happening anytime soon? Is he going into hibernation?
I've been trying to call him, but he just won't return.
He doesn't return your calls anymore.
No, I leave him really nice voicemails and everything. And
is he in the Bahamas?
Have a chat, mate.
Right away.
Haven't heard back, so I don't quite know what to make of that, really.
All right, well, keep an eye out for him.
If anyone knows where he is, please let me know.
Maybe he'll make a return on April 1st, perhaps.
Maybe.
All beat up and tired.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens between now and April.
Yeah, right. We get a rocket ship real quick.
Who knows? Yeah.
Anything's possible with enough monetary easing.
Absolutely. So I've actually just pulled up some of the Coinbase numbers here. So
can you share your screen so I can show it?
I'll send you the link. It's just a photo on Twitter. I don't know that the monitor I'm on zooms particularly well. Hopefully that's coming through. But it's got $431 million in the quarter for stock-based compensation, 71% of revenue. It's just ridiculous.
Like they only made that much in revenue?
I think their revenue was down something like 50% year over year for the quarter. They're getting crushed.
From what I recall. Wow. All right, let's see here.
Super chat. Thanks, Matt. Punch Card Conference Fund.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate it.
Put that to good use.
Here's the tweet.
Wasteland Capital. What a name.
Nice comments.
There's a lot of detail in that tweet.
Yeah, this guy does some pretty good breakdowns actually on Twitter. Sometimes it's a little harsh, I must say, but I think this is a reasonably legit.
This is deserved.
555 million operating loss. That's before we even talking about the share-based comp rate.
I like the smeared turd there. That's graphic.
Yeah.
What type of Ponzi hell is this?
Yeah, I think the general and administrative cost comes out to like 350 grand a person or something crazy.
They commenting that they're making a bunch of interest income now on their deposits, which they weren't before, and that's like propping it up even further than where it could be. Dang.
Yeah. It's quite the management fee to pay as a shareholder, really, isn't it?
It really is. You better have some top talent for that.
Yeah.
Better get the
who's still holding this? Honestly, who's still holding Coinbase.
I wonder if the millennial money guys are. They thought it was worth it at IPO prices.
Did they really?
Yeah, they were all like, yeah, let's all in whatever. Oh man,
Were they affiliates
What-
of?
yeah. No, they were affiliates of FTX actually. What a time that was. That would have been 2021, the golden age of crypto pumping. I think it's 2021, and Robinhood went public. They were making like all their income from crypto trading and it was options trading and as well as crypto trading. It's like where all the income was, all the super speculative stuff. Fun times.
I mean, the stock-based compensation here looks bad, and it is bad, but it's such a high percentage of revenue now because all the trading fees are just falling off a cliff. The activity's down so much.
Right. I didn't realize revenue had fallen that low to 500 million. And what's their market cap still? They are a
13 bill.
Wow. Jeez. That's rough. 13
We know
billion.
rates have to keep increasing until like we don't see Coinbase.
Even if they fell back down to zero, I mean, like you need a lot of help. Like, wow. All right, that's enough.
Should we take a few more? Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, sorry, last comment. I remember when that thing went public and there were people making videos about how this thing's going to grow 50% a year or maybe 100% a year for the next few years, and this is my valuation because of that. And yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It's just amazing. Like,
yeah,
maybe it's just like no, because it happens everywhere. I was going to say it's just like a 20-year-old person thing, but no, it's widespread. It's everywhere. Like, because we've seen stuff like this happen so often, or not so often, but periodically, you just get these run-ups. But it's just amazing how like easy it is to get caught up in it. At such a widespread level.
It's human nature.
Yeah, just emotions. We need more psychology lessons from Charlie Munger.
That's what I'm talking about. I wanted to ask this one from Alexander. Anyone still holding Ceritage? Ooh. Been watching the properties come down off the website. Sales pace has ramped up a lot recently.
I am.
There you go. We got one.
I added kind of recently, actually.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty.
All of us.
Yeah.
All of us. The only one who's
Except
not holding it is
Frank. I think Frank sold and he hasn't gotten back in.
He did sell, yeah.
I've been meaning to record quite a detailed update podcast with Matt Peterson on this. We delayed because of the earthquakes in Turkey, but hoping to record that in a week or two, I think.
I think the short, not the short thesis, but the thesis in short now is that they're basically past their debt doomsday clock for now. The one that was coming up, like they have enough cash value, or they've paid off enough. No, they've paid off enough debt to the point that the balloon payment doesn't trigger, right? Mm-hmm. Or they're very close.
They've got the balance down to 800 million as of I think early this month.
I forget what's the threshold trigger again for July.
800 million.
It's 800, so they've gotten it down there.
So they're right at it, and I think they've got something like 5. I'm going to have to go back and look at my notes, but ballpark 500 million from memory in properties that they think are quite likely to close very soon. Like they've got accepted offers. They're just going through
like
due diligence.
390 plus 75 or something like that.
Something like that. Either way you slice it, it's a big chunk of the remaining debt as well. But yeah, they've at the very least bought themselves 2 years on the.
That's what I thought the largest risk was. So I'm kind of surprised that you didn't see more of a movement, like once you kind of got that confirmation, or that they're this close. But
yeah, it wasn't all good news in that update. There were some pretty scary looking cap rates in there. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah, you're not going to sell dumpy or even pretty decent properties for 4% cap rates, like some people might have guessed for some of those.
They're going to end up hopefully debt free and probably fairly concentrated in their higher end, larger properties, I would say, is how it's going to play out. It could potentially be influenced quite a bit by each of those individual big property sales towards the end.
What are you seeing for cap rates down, like 10 caps or?
There are a couple of 9% in there from memory.
Okay.
but I don't think you can extrapolate that to a whole Ceritage portfolio. Otherwise, you
Sure.
should get out of the thing yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
you can
mortgage
sort
rates
of
are
look through.
mortgage rates are coming down. Just a quick interruption. Sorry, Tom, but mortgage rates are. I shouldn't say coming down much, but they've kind of plateaued. I think they got as high as like 8% in a lot of places, and are falling back down into the 7s. So for whatever that's worth, maybe we've kind of reached a plateau on kind of cap rates, interest rates for a while. Of course, that could change in an instant, but you're not seeing interest rates shoot up as much as they were before, kind of ahead of anticipating interest rate rises.
Yeah, and I think that's probably better news for the big properties than the small one. Like,
I would
there's a
think
bit
so.
of commentary from the CFO that you probably know the stuff inside out, Jack, but it seems like it's much easier to finance with like more local lenders, smaller property purchases, whereas I don't know, it seems more difficult with the larger purchases. I'm not really sure, but that's kind of the gist I got from the CFO.
I don't know who they're selling to exactly, but for a lot of these big ones, I'd assume it's a lot of institutional buyers. Maybe not for some of these small kind of dumpy ones that might be more entrepreneurial buyers, little guys. But yeah, typically local guys are only going to do smaller, well, not necessarily only smaller, but those often are a bit higher on the interest rate. It's the big institutional funding that gets that like the lowest rates you could probably get. And of course, if anyone gets government funding, that's even lower, which can happen with some of these big deals if they can somehow swing it, but probably not for retail, but usually for housing, you'll see something like that. Maybe for a mixed use property, you could see some sort of government backed loan of some sort, but that's when we're talking about those really big properties with very kind of limited buyer pool. It's probably going to be a big fund or some other big real estate company that buys it, I would think.
Also, I saw there was some news from Equity Commonwealth recently. Do you get Jack and
how recent? I've been off the grid. I
think within the last couple of weeks.
This month, yeah.
Okay.
This month.
What happened? No,
special dividend.
Oh yeah.
Special dividend.
I thought there was some announcement.
No, they're still just relaxing.
Yeah.
No deal. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a $4.25 dividend, special dividend that they're going to be paying out on the 6th of March or 9th of March.
Get your cash. Come get your cash we've been sitting on for a while.
So the stock that's a pile of cash is turning into literal cash. Is that
right?
Is that the news?
Yeah. Have you been sitting in it the whole time? I feel like you've been in and out of it, Karan, or have you not?
I bought back in recently.
Okay.
And
yeah. I've been sitting there staring at it for a couple of years now. I really just view it as my cash.
Move, damn it.
Because I have very little cash in my stock portfolio, so I just kind of view that as my cash, kind of like you.
Well, now it's actually going to be cash.
Right, now it'll be cash. So use it to buy more.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jack, you're so allergic to having cash around that you had to buy a stock that's a pile of cash just to handle it.
Exactly. It is a little. It's kind of well. I mean, the way you kind of look at that one is you have some properties, you have a little bit of insulation theoretically. You're getting some dividends from that little bit of rent.
Jack, they maybe don't have the properties anymore. I think that's where the special dividend is from.
Oh, from they sold the last 4?
They haven't told us, but I mean, every time they've sold property, they've given a special dividend. So.
Maybe, or it might be to appease investors because they've been whining about getting cash for a long time. But yeah, it could be.
It's literally just a pile of cash, Jack.
Yeah, now it's literally it's just.
Funnily enough, the interest they're earning right now is higher than their buyback program that they have.
That's.
So they're earning 4% on their cash, and their buyback program 120 or something.
So see, it's Tom, it's a cool pile of cash. It's more than just cash. It's cool. It's got elements to it.
It's advanced cash.
It's
high level cash.
But what I was going to say is you just look at it as like, okay, here's your cash. As long as you're not paying a premium for it, you're theoretically insulated. And if they if you trust Sam Zell to find a good deal, that theoretically would make the value go up if and when they find that deal. So it's just cash with some upside.
You're partnering with the grave dancer, Jack.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So as long as you appreciate the reputation, or I could say you support it, then that's why it would make some sense. Like, even though it's all cash right now, it's not going to do much, though maybe it will, buying back the cash fund, the cash buyback program, which just seems silly. That's kind of your upside thesis.
It's an interesting comment from Manu about taxes. Are these dividends taxable, or are they like liquidating distributions? Does that change how you
The return
analyze
of
equity
capital, right?
Commonwealth?
I think so. It's not an ordinary dividend; it's return of capital, which is taxed at your individual.
Is that the case for you? Is that the same in the U.S.? Because REIT taxes are weird.
Of course, it's a rate, but that would just mean the company's not paying tax. You would still pay personal tax, right? With REITs usually.
Yeah, the company would not be, but the investor would be in the U.S. That's how the REITs work.
Interesting.
I mean,
like with Ceritage, for example, it sounds like up to your cost basis, the distributions wouldn't be taxable because it's a liquidation. Not tax advice, but that's what
right.
That's what Ceritage. I'm just wondering if it's similar with Equity Commonwealth, or whether you'd actually have to buy it at a discount to the cash. So, considering the taxes,
yeah, that's what I always think with dividends. Like, I don't really want a dividend, like, necessarily. If all else equal, of course, it can make sense if it's some way to unlock value. But in this case, it's just a pile of cash. So, like, if you need to return it at some point, go ahead. But if you're trying to invest it, then, like, I don't want it. Then I have to potentially pay taxes on it. So, yeah.
They haven't clarified why they're paying the special dividend. It's not because of property, or because
I didn't think of selling. I didn't think of selling the properties, but that would make some sense. I think it's just to appease people, because I want to say they did a pretty fat dividend fairly recently, some months ago. I forget exactly when.
It was a $1 dividend, I think.
Yeah, but that might have
That
just
was
been
also with some sales, I think.
Was it sales? I don't even remember at this point.
I wasn't in it at that point.
But it might have also just been property earnings as well from the last year, because they usually do like one annual dividend for their property earnings. At least that's what they were doing. But it's a weird situation. There's only a few portfolios. So yeah. I saw Eunice had one last question. Maybe we can close on. I don't know what it was exactly. Okay, it's a question for Eunice. What would you like to see about Turkey in terms of content? I'm planning for my return, from our friend Investing in Turkey with Eunice.
Good company breakdowns all day long, I would say.
Yeah. What do these companies do? Give us the finance, the situation. Like, I know you did that great interview with Jason on the After Dinner Investor podcast, where you kind of went down quite a few companies, and that was great. Just getting more context on all these different things and
companies that are insulated from the hyperinflation going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things that you could get into with it, but yeah, more of that would be great. Whatever else you think might be valuable, it's whatever you want to do, Eunice. It's your channel, so.
Yeah, I like that. The main thing with creating content is trying to do it consistently. So you have to like it as sort of a prerequisite, but assuming we've crossed that bar, that's what I would go for. The other thing that would be interesting, like, it seems like through the grapevine news spreads occasionally that someone like Monish, for example, has bought a new Turkish stock, even though it's not easy information to find. So I don't know if there's local regulatory filings that you could keep people up to date on that they might find interesting.
Yeah, or like, who are the best investors in Turkey, and like, what are they buying? Kind of like a 13F super investors specifically for Turkey. That'd be pretty interesting.
We've got some suggestions in the chat as well.
Cool.
How can we non-US investors invest in Turkey? That might be a bit tricky, but to do a comprehensive thing on that. But good stuff. Any final thoughts? And any other big highlights that we missed? We only went through a few really in this one, but anything else, Brent, that caught your eye? Rattle off real quick from the 13Fs from this past quarter.
A lot of activity from Connor Haley at Alta Fox. That's always kind of interesting to look at.
What did
Do you have 100 million now?
What's that?
Didn't realize he was filing 13Fs.
Yeah, Alta Fox is filing. I think a few quarters ago they crossed that 100 million threshold.
Cool.
Yeah.
I see he's just gone on the board of an Australian company as well.
Little activist move, huh?
Yeah. We should say that our namesake, Norbert Liu, didn't do anything this quarter, we should be very proud of him for that. You know?
Yes. Proud / annoyed.
Yeah.
Great for fun, or great for our values, bad for content.
Has there been anything that you guys have been looking to clone, or like anything that stands out?
I'm trying to sell carpet cleaning here, Carl.
Stay focused, Jack.
We had a $1,000 job today at a house. Like, that's how much carpet cleaning do you need?
A lot of carpet.
But like, man, thank you.
A lot of carpet.
Carpets, rugs. Guys were busy that was like 2 guys on it for like 4 hours. It's a long job, but big job.
Big tips also.
Yeah, they got some nice tips out of it too. So always good. Always appreciate when they tip our guys. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I guess the main one is kind of piquing my interest is U-Haul Holding Company.
That was the most interesting for me too from that list that you compiled.
Yeah, big insider ownership, recent insider buying. I've used the company a lot because I used to manage a moving company. So I'm thinking about that one.
I echo your concerns about customer service there. I've used it
it's
twice.
Terrible.
It's very mixed because I think it's a lot of franchises, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
I think that's right.
Like little shops can set it up, and so you get huge variance in service quality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I didn't even realize it was public till you showed that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. U-Haul's a public company. The more you know.
Yeah.
The insider ownership on that one is the most interesting part. It's like 45% or whatever is the owner. It's crazy.
Yep.
Anything else?
I was just going to say we had a comment a few weeks back about a company called Patrick Industries, which I've been looking into. Definitely not across the line or anything with it yet, but I think that's a company I'll just kind of track quarter to quarter anyway because it's adjacent to another holding of mine. It's good for kind of some industry backdrop. So
what do they do on a high level?
RV parts.
RV parts. Okay, interesting.
Selling shovels during the gold rush.
That's enough. That's enough. But if you want to look at like crazy home run returns in the last decade, Patrick Industries, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tom starts
a lot through acquisition.
Tom starts RV Capital or something like that. I'm sure that's taken, but
that's Rob Van Aert.
Oh, that is right. RV2 Capital.
Yeah, it's like
after Carvana, it might be available.
Yeah,
maybe I should have said that.
BK Capital.
Okay, any guesses how much this thing's up from March 2009 to today? Just throw a number out.
I'm going to say it's a 30 bagger.
Can you give the market cap a little hint?
Market cap is 1.6 billion.
30 bagger.
10 bagger.
20. I'll be in the middle.
It's a 560 bagger since.
Whoa!
What?
When did they go public?
Yeah.
So
they went public in 1983.
Oh.
So from 1983 to that time, they're down like 84%.
What is that? What is that in real terms, though?
Yeah. So even though they went down like 80 or 90% over, from the early 80s to 2009, the all-time compound return's probably reasonable. It's still up like 8,500%. But yeah, last little while has been ridiculous.
So what happened in 2009? They got a new management team.
I believe that's the case, and I think he's just left pretty recently, the CEO. But they got out of, I can't recall, they got out of some line of business and started buying RV parts businesses, basically.
I see. Okay.
I think they do a little bit of marine stuff and a little bit of manufactured housing stuff as well. But they've just run the acquisition engine really hard, basically.
Nice. Roll up.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So that's one to look at, maybe.
Yeah.
One to think about. What could have been if you were, old enough in
What could still be?
Someone wrote it up on Value Investors Club. Not that low, but they did pretty well.
Yeah.
Dang.
Assuming they held the whole time.
That is by far the hardest part. Like you find it, it runs up 3x. You're like, great, I'm out. And then whoops.
Yeah. I wonder if I should just look it up very quickly if I can. See what they did. If I can spell Value Investors Club. And people can look it up themselves, but it's pretty impressive to go back and read.
We promise it's out there.
Yeah.
Go find it.
It is out there in the world.
Alrighty. Maybe we can pick up on any other 13Fs that we might have missed the next show, if there are any other little ones that we might have missed, or even big ones.
Sounds good.
We might have missed. And of course, if there's anything that happens in the meantime, which could very well happen. A lot happened last week. Got a married guy. We got a dad guy. Like, wow. So much happening. With that said, appreciate everyone for tuning in. Appreciate all the super chats as always as well. It goes a long way towards helping us out. And see those affiliate links in the description below if you want to check those too. Be sure to subscribe. Hit the like button if you haven't already. If you showed up later in the show, I know Mrs. Granati has already smashed the like button, and you should too. Be like her. That's all I got. Till next time, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Punch Card Investing. The contents of this show should not be used as investment advice or as a recommendation to invest in a particular security. Please consult with a licensed investment advisor if you need investment advice. All investments carry risk and the potential for monetary loss. Thank you, and see you next week.